Welcome everybody, I'm Jeff Barton and I'm your host for the Las Vegas Real Estate Show, and thanks for tuning in. We're on each and every week and we talk about what's going on here in Las Vegas, in the Valley, the surrounding communities, about real estate, about your decisions about whether you're going to buy or sell, whether you want to wait. A lot of factors are considered when you're doing that, and so that's what we try to do with each and every week on the show. And again, thanks for tuning in. I'd like to get to the immediacy of what's going on in pricing here in the Valley. We have a 290,000, almost a new benchmark in terms of high median prices. I think in 2006 what we had was 316,000 as the median house price, but right now 290,000, and they're looking at about 4 or 5 months from now from reaching the brand new high in median house values here in Las Vegas and the surrounding communities. Now when you consider that in 2012, and that's a mere, what, 5-6 years ago, what we've got at that point was $150,000 median house price. So we've almost doubled in 6 years in terms of the median house price. There's problems with that, as everybody knows. There's an affordability issue. There is, can you price your property correctly so that somebody who needs a house can get into it? There's a lot of responsibility when it comes to both pricing your house. It's not just about the most money you can get, although that is free market enterprise, but in a market where you just don't have enough supply, there's issues with that. So considering what that is, and you're out there and you're trying to figure out whether you want to buy or whether you want to sell, consider all the options available to you. There are many out-of-state investors who came in here during the last 4 or 5 years. And by the way, 25% of sales currently are all cash, which usually means those people are investors. They're either flippers or they're people here to see if they can buy and hold and rent. So if we've got that type of demand on the market and prices keep escalating, what will the affordability index be in the next 5 to 6 months? Let's get to another aspect of what's going on here in the Valley. Gambling. Gambling is at the heart of everything we do. It's at the heart of what drives the economy. It's at the heart of what tax revenue is made for both the city, the county, and the state. As everyone knows, the largest population center in Nevada is here in Clark County, and certainly in the city of Las Vegas and the surrounding communities. What happens when those particular agencies and the city itself is under threat? And what do I mean about that? Everybody knows about Governor Christie's lawsuit that was won in New Jersey, allowing New Jersey to have sports betting in that particular state. A recent study has shown that at least 22 different states by this time next year will have sports gambling. What does this mean to Las Vegas? Las Vegas is changing its image, but to the nation and the world at large, this is a destination city where people come to be able to afford gambling on all kinds of things. If that particular revenue stream or business model is under threat, i.e. if 20 to 30 more states are allowing sports gambling, what's going to happen to the demand on coming to Las Vegas? Since everything is built on that, I had a friend come to town the other day. He stayed at a hotel. He asked me what a resort fee was, and of course I laughed. Everybody who lives here laughs. All the hotels in Las Vegas are allowed to charge resort fees, and of course those are just added on taxes for both the city and the hotel in order to make more money. The competitive nature of the way that gambling is and the way that people will consume gambling, especially sports gambling in the future, will lead us to believe, and I think this is true, that the competitive nature of what Las Vegas is and how it's going to compete in the sports gambling world, you're going to have to start to address fees. You're going to have to start to address costs of coming to Las Vegas, not only in things like the resort fee, but when someone gets in a cab or someone tries to rent a car, there are so many fees and taxes, as well as add-on fees by the hotels and the industry, that really makes a competitive advantage not the way it used to be. What I'm trying to say is it it's not the only game in town anymore. So forward thinking, in order to make this destination, in order to supply the people with the revenue stream that they need, we're going to have to come up with a new revenue stream and a new ability to be able to reduce costs so that we can attract more and more visitors to Las Vegas and keep it the center of attraction that we always, want to keep it, so that the ball keeps rolling. Anyway, I'm Jeff Barton. I'm your host for the Las Vegas Real Estate Show. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll be right back.
Successful Strategies International offers state-of-the-art PMP certification in an entire curriculum of project management, risk management, portfolio and program management by using unique learning techniques such as online learning, simulations, and facilitator lead programs. Our clientele consists of some of the biggest Fortune 500 companies in existence. SSI has trainers all across North America, Europe, and Asia to help meet your project management needs. Learn more at ssi-learn.com. That's ssi-learn.com.
Want to know how to create more business and save money? Simple. The answer is video. Video shares are the fastest growing form of word-of-mouth advertising, and according to InternetRetailer.com, visitors who viewed a business video were 85% more likely to buy after watching it. People today are on the go. They don't have time to read text, but they have 1 minute to watch video. At HD Video King, we not only create quality video that's right for you, we coach you on how to get the most from it. Call today. Our award-winning staff are ready to assist.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jeff Barton. I'm your host for the Las Vegas Real Estate Show. Thanks for tuning in and staying with us. We try to bring some great information to you each and every week. And as a part of what that is, buying, selling houses right now in the middle of the summer, it's not easy. And so you have to have expertise, you have to have understanding of the marketplace, and you don't want to have your buyers walking around in 112-degree heat unless you really understand what they want and how they're going to get it. We have both rising prices as well as rising interest rates, but I'm not the expert on that, and so we brought to today's show Alexis Young, who's been on the show before, from Keller Williams. Alexis, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me back.
Thanks very much for coming on the show. Okay, give us a quick rundown, a little recap of what's happening in the market today in July.
So right now we're at a median home price of around $290,000, or $290,000. Things are kind of stabilizing, going to stabilize through August, we think.
Excuse me, when you say stabilize, you mean the prices will kind of calm down a little bit?
Yes, well, hopefully for most, not everyone, but for most is what we're hoping for. And also, as for investors, we're seeing rental rates increasing as well. Right now, average is around $1,400, but that's also including condos as well. So those are a little bit cheaper, but they're still a little bit higher.
It's a two-bedroom?
Well, kind of everything all together.
I see.
Because depending on where you live, Summerlin or Green Valley Ranch, those are going to be higher, and that's going to increase the median home price as well.
I see. Very good. Where do you think we're heading? I mean, I see nothing but tough times ahead for people who are new home buyers, millennials wanting to get into the marketplace. It just doesn't seem like the affordability is there, and we're not building enough units.
Sure, I completely agree with you 100%, and that's exactly what's happening. The supply and demand are completely skewed.
Yeah.
We have an increase in demand from California, other people from other countries. We're a healthy market, healthy economy, so we just have to keep building. The tariffs aren't helping as well. Talk
about that a little bit. The tariffs and the building costs and the materials that are obviously escalating the housing building prices.
Sure. Everything, the last I heard, I'm not a construction worker, but the last that I heard, everything has definitely increased by another $5,000 to $6,000 just from the tariffs.
Right, exactly. And I don't see very much relief, although I did see that there was some relief for certain people in the farming communities. I just read that in the paper a couple of days ago, where some of the farming tariffs that were put in place is causing hardship on farmers, and that there's some government bailout of that, which I'm not sure whether we here in Nevada are for that or against that, but rising home prices are affected drastically by the increased cost of wood, the increased cost of all other materials, whether it be copper or other things that you're going to obviously have in the house.
Mm-hmm. No, I completely agree. And the rising interest rates as well, that's something else that's kind of getting everybody on a level playing field as well. A lot of buyers are starting to back out. Our HOPE program for down payment assistance, that's completely ran out in August. I believe it's August 2nd. We can check back and revisit to see if anybody has been denied and anybody has fallen out of escrow, and maybe you can be eligible for those funds. But as of right now, it's pretty dry.
Now it's depleted. That's a yearly budget, right? So we're out of money as of August 1st for that particular program. And the down payment assistance programs, this tells you that either first-time home buyers or people that want to buy a house who need that program, there are a lot of them. How are we helping? You were telling me off air a little bit about your own issues with one of your buyers.
Sure. So there's also other programs available. There is still the HIP, the Home is Possible, and the Home at Last. They do have higher interest rates, but if you do need down payment assistance, that is the way to go.
Right.
It's 3 years. You have to stay in the home for 3 years, and it's forgiven, and then you can refinance. So you're either, if you're in that position where you need assistance, you're either going to get an older home that has lipstick on it and it looks great, but you're going to have to pay cash out of pocket, and which, if you don't have money to pay for down payment assistance, you don't have money to pay for a new roof, for example, or residual mold that you have no idea existed and the seller covered it up and they don't want to pay for your repairs. So the best thing to do is to go Home at Last. When in the Southwest and the rural newer properties, and the homes are newer, so you're not going to have as much existing problems. And your interest rate is higher, but in the next coming years, the interest rate is possibly going to be even higher, and you're going to be priced out. So it's either you're going to be able to buy now, or you're not going to be able to buy later at all.
Okay, in driving the entire market is this need for housing. We don't have enough houses for people. We don't have enough rental properties for people. And people coming to Las Vegas as investors and people coming to Las Vegas in order to take advantage of rising rents, i.e. buying buildings, there's a number of different companies from a number of different states doing it, have been doing it for the last 2 or 3 years. What do you say, and how do you help a buyer who is looking at a property, they're desperate to get in, but you're worried that there's either some cover-up of an issue, there's maybe a problem in the foundation, maybe it's a mold issue, so you're balancing the need of the client versus your need to be able to tell them, hey, this may not be what it seems to be. How do you do that?
Well, so what I do is I remain completely ethical and honest, and no matter what the outcome of the situation is, you have to be honest and realistic with your buyer, and it's up to your buyer to be realistic and weigh the options for them. If they are really desperate and they really need to buy and they have a family and they just moved here, they have a new job, then yes, you need to get in a house and you're going to be realistic about all of your options. But if you have unrealistic expectations and you need a 4 to 5 bedroom house and you expect your mortgage to be under $1,500 and you have anything on your credit that could hinder that, then you need to do a little bit of personal insight and thinking about your life and take what you can get now and build from that, and then you can move on later.
Yeah, I think a lot of expectations for buyers in this particular market, and I would also say for sellers. We talked a little bit again off air about the ethical responsibility of both the community, the people that work here, buyers and sellers, to try to present a picture and also to buy and sell properties in a reasonable sense. I know that this is not the city or the area that always looks at trying to help somebody else. It's very much about trying to maximize the income right now. Well, what do you say to sellers when you represent a seller, when you're coming to price a house, and there's always this fight by a seller to get the highest, best price, and of course the agent wants to be as reasonable as possible?
So you, of course, always want to get the highest and best price, and right now that's kind of easy to do. But in the long run, you might run into a brick wall later in your escrow and you have to start all over again because you either priced it too high, you're unrealistic, or you were trying to hide something within the walls of the rehab house, which should be fully rehabbed, by the way. Or you should offer to make some kind of repairs to the buyer, and I just feel like that's the most ethical thing to do. Even though buyers they have to go through their due diligence period,
of course.
They should be able to have that option for a negotiation per the seller to help make some of the repairs.
Have you had any issues with appraisals? I know that occasionally it comes up, and especially in an area which you're seeing jumps of 10 to 15% in a very short period of time, which what we've experienced here in the Valley and in Las Vegas. Have you run into any issues with appraisals?
Well, I personally haven't, because I make sure to comp everything.
Right.
I triple check just to make sure if there's going to be a couple $1,000s in range where it's going to fall, and I'm usually right. Sorry, but I'm glad to be right.
No,
yeah,
that's perfect.
But for those that are unrealistic and they're just being hopeful, you're doing a disservice to your client, and you're doing a disservice ultimately to yourself and the other agent.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate you coming on the show once again. Great insight to both the Valley and what you're doing to help your clients. Thanks very much.
Thank you for having me.
And that's Alexis Young from Keller Williams. I'm Jeff Barton, your host for the Las Vegas Real Estate Show. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll be right back.
Want to know how to create more business and save money? Simple. The answer is video. Video shares are the fastest growing form of word-of-mouth advertising, and according to InternetRetailer.com, visitors who viewed a business video were 85% more likely to buy after watching it. People today are on the go. They don't have time to read text, but they have 1 minute to watch video. At HD Video King, we not only create quality video that's right for you, we coach you on how to get the most from it. Call today. Our award-winning staff are ready to assist.
Ruthless Cowboys, keeping the American dream alive and creating jobs one t-shirt at a time. From fabric to design, Ruthless Cowboys makes 100% American-made apparel that hardworking Americans are proud to wear. At RuthlessCowboys.com, you can shop for shirts and accessories for the cowboy or cowgirl in your life. Head to RuthlessCowboys.com, check us out on Facebook and Instagram by searching Ruthless Cowboys. Ruthless Cowboys, we're all about family, country, and keeping it all American. RuthlessCowboys.com.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jeff Barton, your host for the Las Vegas Real Estate Show. Each and every week, we come to you to bring you information about both buying and selling real estate here in Las Vegas, certainly Clark County as a whole and Nevada as the larger area. There's a lot going on in the state. There's a lot of demand on all kinds of different properties here in the Valley, and I wanted to get to that right away. But I wanted to first introduce my panel, who is gracious enough to come here and help me with this section of the show. Two great people. One, John T. Chun, who works for Realty One, and I really appreciate you coming on the show to talk about real estate. And Charles Giscombe, who is from Malibu Funding, who is part of our lending crew, who can give us a little bit of insight as to what's going on in the lending world. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming on the show. Okay, first off, tell me a little bit, Jean T, tell me a little bit about what's going on in the real estate market here in the Valley, just from your perspective. I know you're in it both as a business owner and also as a terrific agent.
Absolutely. Well, the trend has remained. So within this year, the supply is still low, right? So as of June, I mean, we're still looking at just a month and a half supply, basically. And, you know, for a stabilized market, you're looking at about 6 months supply. So only had like a month and a half. So prices are still increasing, you know, between 10 to 25% per year, depending on the area. So,
of course.
So yeah, we still have that lack a little bit, but like I mentioned before, I think that it's somewhat stabilized a little bit, even though we don't have a lot of stuff. It's not going crazy, although the median price has rose up to about, what, $290 now. $290,
that's what they say. And they say it's going to reach all-time high by when? The fall? September, October?
I don't know.
Like
honestly.
2006 was the high at what, 316? It looks like we're heading that way right now.
Yeah, but remember, there's like a little bit of a decrease, right? Slightly
yes,
from,
it does come down.
from last year, actually.
From last year, I thought it was from last month, or maybe it was from last year. Maybe you're right.
Well, about the same time, they do kind of like that year, they analyze yearly, like June to June, basically.
That's right, year over year.
Yeah. So it has decreased a little bit. So stable a little bit, even though there's no supply. So I think what, in my mind, is collectively, I think, we're kind of keeping a handle on everything.
Okay, part of that price, Charles, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming back again.
Absolutely.
Okay, part of the price of the real estate property itself is the mortgage, right?
Correct.
So tell me about rates, tell me about availability of products, maybe some different things that are going on in the market.
Well, the rates, Jeff, obviously, as the economy gets better, as we know, and it has been, it's been steady. The rates will go up as if we do well. Rates go up, we do bad, rates go down. So the rates are consistently raising, and Jeff, we talked about this before. There may be one or two more rate increases, rate hikes before the year is up.
Right.
So basically right now, the rates are steadily increasing slowly, and that's what you can look forward to. I mean, and at Malibu, we always say, if you want to lock it in a loan, you got to do it right now because telling where the rates might be before the end of the year is out.
Right, go on.
Where are the rates now, just roughly?
Actually, the rates I've been working on anything between 4.5 to 4.875 from a conventional standpoint. Obviously, we're working on some other programs, so it can range up into the low 5s, but right now, that's where we are. We're at middle 4s. High end before you get to 5, maybe 4.875 might be a steady market, and depending on the borrower, you can get down a little bit lower.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about both these issues because I think it's really important for people who are watching the show today to understand that we're aware of what's happening in the marketplace and how a lot of people are priced out either by the price of the property or by the price of the mortgage. So the affordability, the ability to be able to have somebody who's working come and buy a house has gone down and keeps going down. There was a recent study that talked about somebody who has a minimum wage job. Can they afford a house? Well, can they afford the rent? And in this article, the article that I brought up here today just to talk about it a little bit, it says that if you are a minimum wage worker, it takes you 73 hours a week just to afford your rent. Now that's ridiculous. Obviously you're going to have 2 or 3 roommates in a one-bedroom place. It's the only way you can afford it. Right. So is this a public sector, meaning is this a government problem or is this a private sector problem? And then depending on the responsibility, what is the solution?
Well, okay, so it's been part of the government sector slightly, right? Because, okay, for a lot of first home buyers, I think they're unaware that there are some programs that can help them out there.
Right.
And unless you speak to a lender or someone in the real estate profession that kind of knows about it, you wouldn't know. Now, I think millennials,
Right.
I was reading something about millennials basically. So they're working not as hard, I suppose. They like to just stay and live with their parents and stuff like that. So, and they have their minimum wage job and they're happy with that. And so they don't have this desire to go buy stuff like, like in our generation basically, right? So, but so they're not really out there talking to a lot of people about real estate basically because they just don't really care a whole lot basically. So but if they would find out that there are a lot of programs. So even though you are working a minimum wage job, I think you can get into a home. I mean, it is tough to save up for that, first home, right? 10 grand,
so this is
15 grand.
Public sector really, but what you're saying is the market really hasn't caught up to a lot of these millennials, which is only going to exacerbate the problem when they finally turn around and say, hey, we do want to buy, but there's nothing to buy, so I'm just going to live at home.
Correct.
Well, yeah, with the supply, I suppose, right now, but, I mean, there is more building, so.
Okay, you were talking about more building. Where are they doing the building? How were you?
Yeah, I mean, well, there's a lot of new builds, but the prices are outrageous, obviously. But and I was talking about building, like I see a lot of apartments, buildings coming up around my property. So that's private builders, obviously, right?
Right.
So yes, the rental market's great too. So that's pretty high. And you're right. I guess the rental market has gotten a lot more expensive as well.
Right,
and
that's the issue.
Yeah.
A lot of these rental properties that are being built by people who are obviously outside of Nevada, that are coming in here, buying plots of land. One of the things about the public sector is that the entitlement process. How easy is it to get a permit to build a house, to build an apartment complex, so that you can help, obviously, supply more housing?
Right. Well,
it's you know what? You can get it done. It's not as easy. A lot of people just aren't informed, Jeff, in regards to what to do and how to do that. The money is there, obviously, for individuals to go ahead and want to build. And it's so funny when she was talking about the millennials. You know, at this day and age, people don't really understand that, you know, obviously getting a mortgage is going to be cheaper than having a rent. And bottom line is that I think, like you said, just getting more informative from that standpoint will allow them to know, I mean, hey, listen, I can go do this. And if you do have 2 or 3 roommates, go buy a house together. At the end of the day, you're not going to stay there forever. You're a millennial, you're young, you're probably...
How does it work with people who aren't related to buy a house if they want to pool together their funds?
Actually, it's going to be the same scenario, except, you know, you just put each individual on that contract, right, Jeff? And at the end of the day, from a mortgage standpoint, when you're qualifying different individuals, it really comes down to, at the end of the process, is when you're signing those quitclaim deeds and you're getting on title. That's when you differentiate everything, right? That's when people have ownership stake on that title, on those deeds, so that you can know who has that. But in regards to qualifying, you just have, hey, listen, 2, 3 occupants in a situation. You know as well, and when you live, doing business in the Inland Empire, right? You know, there's a Hispanic, a high Hispanic community, and Latin community, and so what happens is they all go on loans together, right? Right. It's just a sort out. It's a sort out process, the same kind of situation. They might not necessarily all be related as well, but they may be. And at the end of the day, you just put that together and sort that down at the end. It's really not as difficult as it may seem, and it's super, super cost effective, especially with individuals who, you know, who are working minimal wage jobs, not making that much money, pulling that situation together, giving yourself a better living situation, also providing yourself a tax write-off, because it's super important to be able to have that as well.
Okay, part of the problem here in Vegas is what we've got a little bit of competition happening out there. When New Jersey just recently obviously won their lawsuit in the Supreme Court to be able to open up sports gambling in New Jersey. They predicted that by the end of the year or early next year, we may have 20, 25 states that allow sports gambling. Part of the handle here in Vegas is sports gambling. It's the #1 sports gambling destination for setting lines, and lines, of course, are how people make money, right? If you have a 3.5 point spread, or your line is 115 over 275, or what it might be. And by the way, I just made that up. I have no idea what I just said.
Are you sure?
No, I have no idea. What I'm saying is,
too good.
That's part of what we do here, right? I mean, we set lines in order for the rest of the country to use those lines in their gambling. If this becomes less of a destination as a result of sports gambling, what is it exactly that we'll be able to do in order to attract people to the city more? Is it lowering fees? Is it the government to take less in terms of the hotel tax, the city tax, the airplane tax? Is it, I don't know, a discount on the rooms? We got about a minute left.
Everything you just said has to take effect in regards for this to be, because Vegas was special and is special. Las Vegas is special and will continue to be so, because there's no other place like it. But we're not going to be as special because other individuals, like you said before, who only thought that they could come to Vegas. And it's not just for the professional gambler or the very experienced gambler. It's going to be more so for the more amateur, more you know, leisure gambler. That was more comfortable for them. So now, at the end of the day, we're going to have to do those things that you talked about, lower those different situations, keep making it more inviting to come to Vegas. You know, Sin City is Sin City. You got to take advantage of that situation. We got to sell that more, because now the lure of being able to gamble is being lessened by them opening up different states.
Right.
Well, what do you predict would be the percentage of you know, decrease in people coming here because of it?
Well, that's the study that hasn't been done. That's the key. I'm just saying, for the future, a year from now, 2 years from now, when you've got maybe 35, 40 states who are into gambling, or maybe they've opened up other avenues to take business away from Las Vegas. Anyway, we're up against the clock. I wish we could chat about it more, but thank you very much, both of you, for coming on the show.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, and I'm Jeff Barton, your host for the Las Vegas Real Estate Show. We'll see you next time.